All right, welcome to Life Fit with DVD. Welcome back. Um, Today I wanted to talk about can your thoughts be addictive? And this is kind of elaborating on my past two videos here. I find this topic so interesting just because of how powerful our thoughts are, and we just often dismiss these things. We don't really bring the awareness to them that I feel like we should. So, can our thoughts be addictive? The obvious answer is absolutely. Absolutely. And there's a variety of reasons for this. I talk often about, how the things that we focus on will become, our reality. This is, a creation technique, manifestation technique, whatever you want to call it. But, at the same time, um, you know, we can create with our thoughts or we can destroy with our thoughts. I've talked about how 92% of the thoughts that we have are things that we can't control, that aren't real, that aren't in the present moment. You can check out one of my last videos on that. Um, and when you look at whether your thoughts are addictive, a lot of the things that we are thinking about, you know, aren't real, are hypothetical scenarios, and of these hypothetical scenarios, like these, dreams or fantasies or things that like are ultimately kind of destructive or fearful, might bring you fear or anxiety or other sorts of things. If we're thinking about these things that we can't control or do anything about, but you know there's something about them that um, we're associating with, right? If that thought is exciting in some way, sometimes the mirror, or the other side of the coin of nervousness and anxiety is excitement, right? There's a lot of emotions and feelings that we have where um, when we look at these things, the other side of the same emotion is what we're actually trying to get to, right? Pain and pleasure, same sort of thing. The flip sides of the same coin. So if there's thoughts that are bringing us pain, right? We're really trying to achieve something else, but we might not know what it is, right? Now, if you keep having a lot of negative thoughts, just beating yourself up or sort of, that sort of thing, destructive thoughts that really aren't useful to you, like it's not a good way to be thinking, yet these things continue to appear in your mental chatter, then there's something there that you need to identify with, that is the opposite of that mental chatter, of that negativity or that self-defeating thought. So I mean, if you're thinking, oh, one of the most common ones is, oh, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not skilled enough, I don't have enough experience, I don't have, you know, the, all sorts of things where you're really phrasing to yourself that, oh, you know, I just don't have enough. Well, the opposite is that really you're trying to be enough. You are enough. You are enough, right? That is the thought that you need to instill, and you need to get addicted to that thought. But the question is, how do you break the addictive thought of that self-defeating behavior? I mean, maybe the better question is, why does that come up? And we're all conditioned. We might hear these things from caregivers, parents, authority figures, superiors, people in your peer group, bosses, right? Things that are highlighted that indicate that you don't have something. Well, instead of focusing on the negatives, and as always I talk about that in a lot of these videos as well, we need to focus on our strengths, right? Not magnifying our weaknesses, but focusing on the strengths, focusing on the things that we enjoy, the things that we're already good at, that brings us intrinsic value, but hopefully other people have maybe recognized us for as well. We need to focus on these things and keep doing those things. Now, if you feel like, oh, you've never gotten any sort of praise like that, well, I would urge you to sit down and start to highlight all of the things that you have achieved, that you have been recognized for. Maybe just look through your resume, look through your past, look at the places you've been. Who have you helped? Who have you made a positive impact on their lives? Now, if you're struggling with any of these things, focus on what you are proud of. Then, focus on what you're proud of, and that you have achieved in your life. And that might be hard. This might be a hard exercise, but ultimately, when you go through it, I guarantee you will find more things, if you really focus on it, that you are positive, that are good, that you've achieved, and putting them down in some sort of journal or paper, and just going through this process of focusing on that is going to be a huge boon for breaking some of these negative or addictive thought patterns. And this is why bringing awareness to this, the power of our thoughts is so important. Because, a lot of the time we're completely out of control, right? We're distracting ourselves with things that are negative, that are addictive, right? The things that are on social media that we just, want to shut our brains down at the end of the day because we're so tired, and then we put something that is just talking about all sorts of negative things in front of our eyes, and we shut down any conscious awareness to are these things that I want to be focusing on? Are these things that could be addicting? Are these things that are going to be productive for the things that I ultimately want in my life? Right? And distractions, I think, are good sometimes, but they should be productive distractions in some way, not something that is going to ultimately, undermine, how you feel about yourself. So, in looking at your thoughts as an addiction, right? What thoughts keep coming up to you that you wish you just didn't have? Think about them, write them down, then debunk them, right? Write them down, write how these aren't true, right? Because when you usually write them down, you'll realize they're not true, and use that technique of just going through your past, going through the things you've achieved, and debunking those thoughts. And you'll say, oh wow, it's actually really not, an example of my experience, right? It's actually not how I feel about myself. It's not actually what I've done. But at the same time, that thought keeps popping up. So where's that thought coming from, right? And it gets into that conditioning again. It gets into that media that's planting it there. The things that are going in when we're not conscious, that we're putting in there with our distractions. These are the stories, these are the narratives that ultimately are in a lot of media, a lot of movies, games, any sort of storytelling that we associate with as people. These themes are in there, and then we are reiterating them in our minds because we see or feel some identity to that story. We associate that thought that we're having with something that's a part of us, because it's not just us, it's our culture, it's our society that has planted these ideas. And so much of society has destructive and unproductive thoughts. And when we can begin to disassociate ourselves from the narratives and the stories that society has given us, right, we can really start to implant some much more positive and productive thought behaviors and thought patterns. So I find this, it's our thoughts are so much more powerful than we give them credit for. But as always, it starts with slowing down, being more mindful of what is our obsessive thinking. If you're having trouble controlling these thoughts and you're constantly trying to escape, right? Just recognize the thoughts, right? Recognize what in your environment might have triggered you. Then you can really get into them, either meditate on them, journal on them, right? And it might require a lot of focus, right? If our thoughts are just kind of out of control, we're so distracted, right? This might be a really big challenge. It has for me in the past, just to sit down and get all of the thoughts out of your head. As an INFJ, this is a very hard exercise. And I might get into the whole INFJ story, in another video. But this is a huge thing for me. There's a lot of nonsense that goes on up here, and it's not even nonsense. It's just ideas that are just getting connected, at seemingly, disconnected times. It's when my mind has a chance to zone out that incredible connections start to happen. But at the same time, these also negative connections can also happen as well. So it's really important to know the difference. And if we are feeling out of control, right, that's when we need to start this whole mindfulness meditation, journaling practice. That's not a time for distracting yourself, right? Especially when you're starting to identify what is going on here, right? What do I need to get to the root of that is causing me to have these thoughts? That maybe I'm experiencing a bit of addiction towards, because on the other side of that, there's something that you want, right? There's a way that you want to feel, but it feels out of control, and instead you're getting addicted to the opposite. And I mean, it's crazy too how much you look at the media, and it's just doom. It's doom everywhere. It seems like there's nothing ever good happening, and that's intentional. That's intentional. That the media is keeping us in a doom state, right? But there's all sorts of good things that are happening as well, that are around us, that are present, that are in our aura, our experience of this reality. It's out of our thoughts, right? That are literally in front of us, and there's good things happening, yet we don't focus on them. We don't think about the blessings, the abundance, the things we do have. And this of course fuels our society, our economy, our culture. And it's so important to just know the distinction and knowing what these what these thoughts are that you might identify with versus what is you and what is happening in the now, in the real, in the present. So anyway, I hope this might help some people. Just try to get a little bit more connected with realizing that some of your thoughts might be addicting, and just trying to break that pattern. So let me know what you think in the comments. Do you have addicting thoughts? What are they? How do you go about dealing with them? It'd be interesting to hear. And if you enjoyed this video, a like or subscribe would be awesome. So until next time, thanks for being here. Talk to you later.